C, adopt a resolution approving an agreement with Citygate Associates for a fire shared services merger implementation analysis in the amount not to exceed $20,000. Chief.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council. As a brief background, in 2007, the City of San Bruno, along with Millbrae, Burlingame, and the Town of Hillsborough, jointly approved a study to be performed by Matrix Consulting Group to conduct a feasibility study of consolidation or increased shared services opportunities among the 4 agencies. Currently, the cities of San Bruno and Millbrae have a shared services agreement, and Burlingame and Hillsborough operate a consolidated fire department. The Matrix study was completed in 2 phases with a final report presented to the City Council last year. That report confirmed the feasibility of further shared services mergers or opportunities and outlined potential cost savings for 3 alternative service delivery options. Since the completion of that report, the city managers and fire chiefs from the respective agencies have met on several occasions to discuss further opportunities indicated in that study. On December 8, 2009, the city managers presented a recommendation to the Central County Fire Board and 2 city council members from San Bruno and Millbrae for additional technical consulting services to assist the agencies in moving forward in the process. The recommended consulting firm of Citygate Associates is a specialized consulting firm that has professional and technical specialists that have the expertise to assist us with moving toward the technical implementation analysis. The scope of work to be performed is attached to your staff report, but includes such things as governance, management, and operational alternatives for further sharing or consolidation of services between the agencies. The cost of the implementation project is estimated to be a not to exceed total of $80,000. The City of San Bruno's share would be 1/4 of that total, or $20,000. Of this amount, $58,700 covers the fixed cost of the analysis to be performed by Citygate, and an additional $21,300 or $5,300 per agency is identified to cover the cost of any additional analysis identified during the course of the study. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of the fire chief?
I have one.
Councilwoman O'Connell.
Thank you. On the outline of the work to be done, on Task 6, Phase 3, it says if the agencies want a full written report on the findings and recommendations, and it goes on. I don't quite understand it. You mean we have to request a written report? How else were they going to deliver the information?
I think that's included as part of the Phase 1 project. And as we move through the tasks, that would fall under Phase 3, the Task 6. So that would be at the council's discretion if they wanted a final documented report of the entire study.
I'm sorry, I understand what you said. I just don't understand how they can possibly do each phase without having a written document and share it among us.
I think the intent, you can add in, I think the intent was at the end of Phase 1, we will receive a report of the findings. At that point, it'll be council's discretion whether we can implement or do we need additional consulting services to move forward in the process.
Okay. If I could add a little bit, we discussed at some length among our staff committee the need to be efficient and to minimize the cost to the maximum extent possible. We believe that there is a need for some technical advice, for some alternatives analysis, and for some well-formed recommendations that we can bring back to each of our governing bodies, because there are a number of serious questions and issues that need to be thought through and resolved in order for us to be able to proceed. We really need we need to know more clearly what direction we want to go. The thought was that we would focus the resources on delivery of that as a work product, as opposed to the preparation of a nice bound report. And that's, I think, really what was thought here was where Citygate was offering the option, and as the chief indicates, that would come at a later stage in the process that we envision for full implementation. The issue was whether we wanted to focus our resources on the work or whether we wanted to focus our resources on the development of a written report. There will be written documentation prepared at every stage along the way through this process. The consultant will be developing a series of project memoranda that will outline specific, document specific analysis and outline their thought process with respect to all of the various issues that we're addressing as we go along. And again, our thought at this point was that focusing the resources on that technical work was a prudent means of moving us forward along the path and towards where we think we need to go. The consultant is also fully prepared to work with each of our cities individually and is prepared, if we request, to make presentations to the full city council and to deal with any issues that we may individually have.
Okay, thank you. That clarifies it.
Any other questions?
Through the chair.
Yes, Michael?
I would agree with Council Member O'Connell in terms of the plan, in the proposal, that the language around the deliverables is a little vague. Mm-hmm. And so I would just recommend that when we go to create the actual binding document, that we do specify that we are looking for a certain level of detail mm-hmm. in what will be implemented. And also, as another separate question, I know that staff is pretty minimum at this point, and people are very busy. I'm a little concerned, or maybe not concerned, maybe that's too strong of a word, but I'd like to know what the feeling is on when we go to implement the changes. How capable are we of doing that, acknowledging that, of course, the consultant will be assisting, but I imagine a lot of that work will also fall on city staff. What are your feelings on our ability to deliver?
Well, I think the initial request from the consultant will actually what they call a data dump, and they'll be requesting information from each of the cities as far as the other departments, such as finance and HR. We've made them aware of that request that will come forward. At that point, I think we'll get direction as to the consultant and look at the alternatives to how we want to address those issues as they come forward.
Thank you.
Through the chair.
Councilwoman.
I understand. I mean, we will have representation at any meetings or anything, plus at least possibly 2 council members. I'm concerned we've got 4 entities involved, and Citygate is going to be involved in what they say, communicating with the partners. And how are we going to know how another partner feels about something? I mean, when is this all going to come out? I mean, are there going to be some meetings where we hash some issues out, and and that gets known, so that the rest of the council knows that this particular partner has a real problem with this phase or this this particular issue.
We have, obviously, there's been a lot of time between the check-ins with the city council. The chief indicated we've been at this since 2007 in a pretty deliberate way, and so I can tell you that numbers of those types of issues are being continuously worked at the staff level among the partners, the 4 city managers and the 2 police chiefs. But you raise a very good question, and we've debated a little bit among ourselves about how practical it would be, for example, to get 20 city council members together in a room and try and have a joint meeting. We may do that at some point. It seems a little bit unwieldy. The process that we utilized on December 8th actually worked quite well, where we had 2 council members from each of the 4 cities. And we found that to be a pretty effective way of getting input and delivering information. We anticipate continuing with some periodic check-ins in that format. Should it become desirable to get everybody together in one room, we would certainly consider doing that. But I can assure you that in the meantime, there is actually a great deal of work that's going on at the staff level, and the consultants will add a tremendous amount of horsepower and technical expertise to that to try and work through some of these issues and be able to present you with realistic alternatives and analysis.
If I can continue, I'm not really as concerned that I hear what our appointed representatives here. I'm more concerned that Citygate is representing 4 entities and that they may be privy to information from one partner that may not get passed on to another partner. And I know we have four jurisdictions that in many respects can be very different. And I think back to the past where we only had 2 jurisdictions dealing, and there were, some issues. That would be my concern, that things are transparent and that, things do get. I don't want to be the last to know about a deal breaker.
Yeah, I think that's a really a very important point, and I guess I can just give you my observation that one of the values of jointly hiring the consultant and making that a 4-way arrangement, I've certainly seen the commitment of that process to the individual issues of each agency, and there will be individual issues. That's part of why we are presenting you with a recommendation for a little bit more money than the actual contract costs, because if, for example, the town of Hillsborough wants to look at something specific, that they'll have the opportunity to do that, or San Bruno similarly. The consultant, on the other hand, is tasked with a joint analysis and a joint work product, and transparency, I think, is a first priority expectation, and again, that firm comes in without preconceived notions or without any allegiance to any of the individual agencies, but with a fresh set of eyes, essentially, to look at what are admittedly numbers of complex issues.
Thank you.
Through the chair, I am the chair. I'm used to saying that, sorry. Vice Mayor Medina and I attended that December 8th meeting, and I do feel very comfortable with the consultants and the way this is all going. You have to remember that these are not just 4 little cities starting out fresh. We do have 3 entities, which is Central County. We have the City of Millbrae and the City of San Bruno. And Central County has a chief. We, in essence, Millbrae and I, San Bruno, have a chief now. We share battalion chiefs. So there is already a mix going on. And the managers have done a great job over the last number of months and years seeing if there are any insurmountable hurdles. And gone this far, apparently not. There's some little things to jump over, but we think this will work, and it has to work in the bigger picture, because we have to do some consolidation here. It's crazy to have 20 little cities and 20 chiefs. We have to consolidate to save some money and make things more efficient for our citizens. So the main concern that we had was, number one, are the citizens of our cities going to receive the same service, the same response time, or better? And number 2, are the troops in with this? And I believe they are. I've spoken to a lot of our own individual firemen here, and in the bigger picture, they're for it, as long as we can overcome some of the smaller hurdles that face us. So I look forward to this.
To the chair. In going to that December 8th meeting, as the mayor said, they had the anticipation of, once the agreement was signed by all cities, that within 30 days they could have an initial assessment of whether there was going to be some huge hurdles that may be of a concern to any of the jurisdictions. In addition, they believed in about 6 months they could possibly come back with the report. So it wasn't going to be a lengthy process. This is what they do. As the mayor said, all the cities met As far as the troops are concerned, I do believe they have questions. They may have some concerns. Change obviously brings up uncertainty and sometimes a little anxiety. But I think that they're open-minded, and I think, as I've spoken to them, they're willing to see what comes forward and see if it can't help ensure the services that we currently enjoy here in San Bruno and throughout the other communities.
Good.
If there are no other questions or comments, I'll go ahead and move to adopt the resolution approving the agreement.
Vice Mayor Medina.
Aye.
Councilmember Ibera.
Aye.
Councilmember Salazar.
Aye.
Councilmember O'Connell.
Aye.
Mayor Ruane.
Aye.